There is a veil, thin, tremulous, and invisible to the waking eye, but at night, it parts. You lie in your bed, the hum of the day fades, and silence settles like ancient dust across your body. Somewhere between the descent into sleep and the drifting of thought, something else arrives. It doesn't speak in words nor wear a face you can touch in daylight, and yet it knows you. It waits for you. It has something to show you. According to Edgar Cayce, sleep is not merely rest, it is return. Return to the source. Return to the realms where the soul breathes without the weight of flesh. In the stillness of your slumber, you pass through the corridors of subtle reality, the spaces where time bends and identity loosens. It is here, in this liminal dimension, that the dead find you. Not as shadows, not as memory, but as energy, as consciousness still alive beyond form. We are taught to see death as the end, but Cayce saw it as expansion, the shedding of a layer, not the loss of life. He described the afterlife not as heaven or hell in rigid moral binaries, but as states of vibration. And those who have left this physical world are not gone. They are simply vibrating on a higher octave, beyond the density of our perception. When we sleep, our spirit momentarily frees itself from the physical anchor. We rise, quietly, gently, into that harmonic resonance, and in that space communion happens. Have you ever woken with a sense of someone beside you? Felt a presence without fear? Heard a voice in a dream that knew your soul better than you do? These are not fragments of imagination, Cayce would say. These are visitations, moments of sacred alignment between your sleeping consciousness and those who reside beyond the veil. Often it is loved ones, sometimes it is guides, and occasionally it is souls seeking to be remembered, seeking peace through your awareness. But to meet the dead, one must first surrender the logic of waking life. In dreams, we are not bound by the same rules. Time folds, distance evaporates, emotions become doorways, memory becomes light. What matters is vibration. What you feel in the dream is often more real than the symbols that appear. A grandmother smiling, a lost friend holding your hand, a stranger staring into your eyes with unbearable love. These are not hallucinations. They are messages encoded in energy. They are transmissions from a deeper place. The question is not whether the dead visit us. The question is, are we still enough to receive them? Sleep is sacred. It is a daily return to the inner temple. It is a gate. And beyond that gate, beings wait. Not to haunt, not to frighten, but to reconnect, to transmit peace, forgiveness, remembrance. Cayce believed that we are never truly alone, and that in dreams we are reminded of that truth. The dead walk with us not as ghosts, but as soul companions still in dialogue with our journey. If these words touched your soul, subscribe to the channel and click on the video that just appeared on your screen. It was chosen especially for you. I know you'll love it. To understand why the dead visit during sleep, we must first unlearn what we know about communication. In the physical world, we rely on sound, sight, gesture. But beyond the material, communication is not bound by form. It is frequency. The soul speaks in vibration. Thought, emotion, intention, all of these are waves, energetic pulses that ripple across dimensions. According to Edgar Cayce, those who have crossed into the afterlife communicate not through speech but through resonance. And the dream state, with its loosened logic and open field of perception, is one of the few moments when we are truly capable of hearing them. Imagine this: a piano in a silent room. When another piano in the next room plays a note, the strings of the untouched piano begin to hum with sympathetic vibration. This is how spirit works. You do not need to see the dead. You only need to align your frequency with theirs. That alignment is most accessible during sleep, when the filters of the conscious mind dissolve and the deeper self takes the lead. During the day, your awareness is fractured, pulled in countless directions, absorbed in external rhythms. But at night, the body rests and the inner being rises. Cayce described this as a liberation of the higher mind, a return to the vibrational source, where all souls are interconnected. In this space, communication is not linear. It is instantaneous. A thought from the other side is felt as a sudden knowing. A message may arrive as a dream, a symbol, or an emotion so pure it cannot be mistaken. You might ask, why do the dead reach out? What calls them to us? Cayce taught that spiritual bonds are not broken by death. If anything, they deepen. When someone departs, their soul often lingers near those they love, not in sorrow, but in guidance. They come to offer peace, to reassure, to assist in healing. Sometimes they return to resolve the unresolved, to continue a conversation interrupted by the final breath. And often it is we who call them, through our grief, our longing, or even our unconscious seeking. But not all visitations are personal. Cayce spoke of soul groups, collectives of spirits bound by shared evolution. Some souls visit us in dreams to remind us of our mission, to nudge us back onto a path we've strayed from. Others bring glimpses of lives we've lived before, surfacing in symbolic narratives that seem surreal but carry deep emotional truth. The dead do not always speak in sentences. They speak in feelings, archetypes, sensations that echo long after waking. And yet many ignore these visitations. They label them as strange dreams, dismiss them as fantasy. But the soul knows. The body remembers. A single dream can leave a resonance in your chest for days. That is not coincidence. It is spiritual imprinting. Cayce urged us to write down our dreams, to treat them as messages from the soul and from beyond, to listen not with the intellect, but with the intuition, because those we once lost may still be speaking. When we tune ourselves, through intention, openness, and presence, we become receivers of spiritual transmission. Sleep is not unconsciousness. It is consciousness released from form, and in that sacred release, we open the channel for love that transcends life and death to flow freely, purely without obstacle. The question is not if they speak. It is, will you be silent enough to listen? What if death is not departure but migration? Edgar Cayce revealed that after physical death, the soul does not vanish. It transitions into what he called the astral plane, a dimension layered just beyond the physical, yet accessible to the dreaming mind. In this realm, thought shapes form and emotion weaves landscape. It is the place where intent is creation, where memory breathes, and where souls and living and departed may converge in mutual recognition. During sleep, your spirit does not merely rest, it travels. It detaches from the constraints of the body and enters subtler fields of existence. Cayce described these nightly journeys as essential, soul excursions where we meet guides, receive teachings, and yes, encounter those who have crossed over. The astral plane is not fantasy. It is a vibrational level of reality, teeming with consciousness, shaped by our inner state. When you dream of a deceased loved one, and it feels more vivid than life itself, more lucid, more charged, more real, it is often because you have truly met them in the astral. This realm allows reunion, not as memory, but as experience. The dead appear not as ghosts, but as luminous presences, often whole and healed, no longer bound by the wounds they carried in life. In these moments, you are not imagining them. You are remembering a meeting that took place beyond the veil. But why is it that only some remember? Why do these encounters fade upon waking? Cayce emphasized that the consciousness we bring into sleep determines what we receive. A restless mind clings to surface dreams, fragmented and chaotic. But a receptive soul, one that approaches sleep with reverence, openness, and inquiry, begins to open deeper gateways. By quieting the noise before bed, setting clear intention, and attuning to spiritual frequency, we become conscious participants in the nightly journey. The astral is a mirror. What we carry within is reflected around us. A heart filled with grief may find the comfort of a departed mother's embrace. A mind yearning for answers may encounter a long-forgotten teacher. And sometimes, a soul may meet with unfamiliar spirits, ancient allies from lifetimes past, who come not to haunt but to guide. One of Cayce's profound insights was that sleep offers more than rest. It offers alignment. Each night, we have the chance to touch eternity, to remember our origin, and to be reminded that consciousness does not end at the grave. The spirit continues, learning, evolving, and occasionally returning to whisper truths into the silence of our dreams. These encounters are not rare, they are simply unnoticed. The mind, trained to dismiss the intangible, often discards the sacred as nonsense. But deep down, you feel the imprint, you awaken with tears, with calm, with a mysterious sense of having been changed. That is the mark of contact. That is soul recognition. The astral realm is not far. It is here, folded within this one, hidden in plain vibration. Sleep is the key that unlocks the doorway. The dead do not visit us from a distant land. They reach across a thin frequency band, one that our sleeping selves can easily access, if we are willing, if we are aware. So tonight, before you drift, pause, still your breath, feel your chest rise, and ask, silently, who waits for me beyond the dream? We often underestimate dreams. In modern life, they are dismissed, random flickers of the subconscious, chaotic imagery without purpose. But to Edgar Cayce, dreams were sacred instruments, precise and powerful technologies of the soul. They were not passive experiences, but active dialogues, between dimensions, between lifetimes, between spirit and self. Cayce interpreted dreams as encoded messages from higher consciousness. He believed the sleeping state allowed the soul to realign with its divine blueprint, to correct its course, receive instruction, and reunite with beings no longer bound to the physical world. In this view, dreams are not illusions, but maps, not noise, but guidance. The dead visit us during sleep because that is where the signal is clearest. It is when our logical defenses are down, when we are momentarily free from linear time, when the soul's ear opens. The imagery may appear symbolic, even strange, but the frequency behind it carries undeniable clarity. A father long past appears in a burning house smiling. A child lost in tragedy returns in the form of light. These are not puzzles, they are transmissions. And each carries a specific vibration meant to shift your path, your perception, your very state of being. But here is the secret Cayce insisted upon. You must listen. Dreams cannot be consumed like entertainment. They must be honored. Each morning, before the noise of the world floods in, sit in stillness. Recall every detail. How did it feel? What lingered? What part of you was touched? The dead may not speak in words, but they leave trails, emotional impressions that guide you toward healing or understanding. Sometimes they come just to be seen, to remind you they still are. You may see them at the edge of a forest, in an old family kitchen, or walking silently beside you down an impossible road. These settings are not random. They are mirrors of your inner self, chosen for their resonance, for their ability to anchor presence. And when the dead appear within them, it is not to disturb, but to reaffirm the bond, to offer recognition, to awaken something you have forgotten, that love never dies, that soul is eternal. There are also dreams that do not comfort, but stir. In these, the dead may appear distant, silent, or in pain. Cayce taught that such visions are not punishment, they are calls, an invitation to complete unfinished energy, to release guilt, to forgive or be forgiven. The dead seek peace, and often it is through you that this peace is made possible. It is not uncommon to awaken from these dreams with a sense of mission. You may feel compelled to reach out to the living, to change a habit, to follow an intuitive pull. This too is contact, not just in the dream, but in the way the dream rewires you. This is the power of spiritual technology, not to merely inform, but to transform. Cayce believed that every soul has a nighttime teacher, and that sleep is not escape, but return, a reunion with your true essence. And in that sacred return, you are not alone. The dead walk beside you, not as memories frozen in time, but as collaborators in your evolution. They still care, they still connect, they still reach out. All you must do is awaken within the dream. You were never meant to forget. But life, in its dense rhythms and heavy routines, has a way of dimming what the soul knows deeply. That the veil is thin, that death is not silence, and that every night you are invited back into communion. Edgar Cayce's work was a call to remembrance. He did not speak of death as exile, but as movement, a shift in frequency, a continuation of consciousness that loops and spirals, ever evolving. In this dance of soul, those who have passed are not gone. They have merely stepped behind a curtain, watching, whispering, waiting for moments when your spirit softens enough to hear. And it is in sleep that this softening happens most naturally. What appears as a dream is often a reunion. What feels like a whisper may be a guidance. What lingers in your chest upon waking is not fiction. It is residue from a real encounter, one that transcends time, location, and the logic of the mind. Cayce often reminded us that the soul retains memory, even when the conscious mind forgets. And it is through these nightly journeys that the soul reclaims its memory, not just of loved ones, but of purpose, of connection, of the larger fabric that unites all beings across realms. The dead visit us because they can, because love does not respect borders, because healing is a shared act, often reaching across the grave to complete its arc. Sometimes they visit in silence. They stand at the edge of your dream, simply being, allowing their presence to do what words cannot. Other times they come to offer clarity, to lift the fog of grief, to remind you that no goodbye is ever final. And in rare moments, they may ask you to help them, to pray, to release, to speak their name with love, so they too may ascend further on their path. We are not separate from the dead. We are part of a continuous field of consciousness that extends beyond death, birth, and identity. Every night we touch that field. Every night the door opens, not for fantasy, but for truth. Cayce saw these moments not as anomalies, but as sacred opportunities. To ignore them is to reject the soul's language. But to honor them, to embrace the mystery, the emotion, the signs, is to step back into alignment with the deeper self. Tonight, when you close your eyes, do so not to escape the world, but to enter it more fully. Beyond the surface of dreams, beyond the swirl of imagery, listen, breathe, feel. Someone may be there, waiting, not to scare, not to haunt, but to remind you, I am still with you. I always have been. In the end, the dead visit us not because they are lost, but because we are. They come to help us remember who we are beneath the forgetting. They come to show us the continuity of love. They come as teachers, as mirrors, as companions on a path that none of us walk alone. You do not have to seek them. You only have to be still. And when they come, be in a dream, in a presence, in a feeling too profound to explain, welcome them, speak to them, listen, for these moments are holy, these visitations are grace. If these words touched your soul, subscribe to the channel and click on the video that just appeared on your screen. It was chosen especially for you. I know you'll love it.